There seems to be a big debate going on right now. Do I want to do public cloud or do I want to do private cloud or some form of hybrid? And I'm seeing answers on both sides of the fence. People saying, oh, no, don't use public cloud. There's still security concerns. There's still problems with it. Are you really paying the appropriate amount? And then there are folks that are on the public cloud side that say public cloud is the only answer to all these questions. Why would you take the overhead of actually managing a cloud, managing the infrastructure, and dealing with how your community actually wants to use that infrastructure to actually go and run their systems? I think this actually misses the entire point. Public, private, hybrid cloud, they're all just tools. The real question is what tool is appropriate for the job. If you have only public cloud available to you, Amazon Web Services I think is an excellent case for this. If I only give you a certain set of virtual machines and a certain set of scale of those virtual machines and a certain set of network models for those virtual machines, if that's the only thing you have access to because the cost model is appropriate to your actual business use case, you're going to make that work. So that hammer becomes the tool that you use to do your application deployments with. On the other hand, if you have an expectation of using a hammer and somebody gives you a tool, maybe a chisel, you suddenly think the only way to use that chisel is to hit it with the hammer, where it might actually be more appropriate to apply soft and gentle pressure with your hands in a more appropriate way of using that tool. In both cases, it looks like I'm doing the right thing. I have a set of nails and I'm going to hit them with a hammer and that's the only thing I can do with this thing. Or I have something that really should be implemented in a different way, but I can still make it work with the tools that I have on hand. Really, we want to take that model and apply it to the public and private cloud systems model question. What you really want to do is look at what you're trying to accomplish. If I'm just trying to stick two pieces of wood together, a hammer and a nail is an appropriate set of tools. If those need to stick together potentially through some torsional forces that might pull the wood apart, maybe a screw is a more appropriate tool to actually join those two pieces of wood together. Hammer and nail still work and they're still functionally appropriate, but there are better solutions out there. And I think when you really understand the overall scope of what you're trying to accomplish, that's where the decision to do a public or a private cloud can now really start to be better defined. Now, there are a bunch of aspects to that decision. What is the cost of operating a public or private cloud environment? In the public case, the operations have been mapped into the cost of the infrastructure and the resources. And in some cases, that operational overhead, that let's just say for the sake of argument that it's something like 30% overhead on the cost of a running VM, and think about it as a running VM for a year, if that 30% overhead is something that your business can absorb and the overhead of having to have an operational resource on staff just to run and manage that environment is not available to you, let's say it costs you $100,000 a year to run that operational manager, and yet it would cost you $100,000 in overhead to run your platform in the cloud. Now you can make a decision based on some actual data and some actual numbers, because yes, the overhead in doing this in the public cloud is $100,000. The cost of having a resource and the infrastructure to support that resource, let's say, is also $100,000. Now I can look at, is the tooling appropriate? If all I'm trying to do is manage virtual machines, I really have all options available to me. I can build a private cloud. Often I can build a private cloud even with hardware that I already have. Potentially it's end of life, so I'm buying new hardware to replace that. But the cost of buying that hardware is something that can be amortized over years. It's something that you have to factor into the overall cost model. So the question, public versus private, really is not one that can easily be answered by a blanket statement, oh, don't ever do X or don't ever do Y. And even the statement of, oh, we'll do both, isn't necessarily right either. It might be that you never need any private cloud resources, that the public cloud provides all the capabilities, the functionality, the security management, etc. that you need. At the same time, it might be that there are reasons for having a private cloud that cost-wise are irrelevant. I need privacy for better security of my data, for security and data governance questions. I mean, there are many reasons why you might want to build a private cloud, but they're best determined by actually analyzing the incoming use cases, the laws that you're required to maintain and manage, and how a private or public solution would actually answer those questions. So let's not say that this debate is over. I think really the question is that it's, in my view, it's not a debate. This is really a question of let's understand the tools that we have available to us. Let's understand the cost of buying and building new tooling, whether that be leasing space from a provider to get a public cloud resource, or building something out myself and actually sort of covering the cost over a number of years of having an onboard resource managing that system. Those are the things that we have to analyze based on our actual use cases. So this has been Robert Starmer with Cumulus Technologies. I just love to talk about technology and understand the best model for my customers. This is clearly what I've been trying to do for years. And if you really like this, don't forget to subscribe. Share this with your coworkers and colleagues. Let us know on Twitter that you like it, or if there are topics that you wish I would discuss on these vlogs, go ahead and let me know there as well. Looking forward to continuing our conversation.